All right, I'm back with another video, and I did this one on Dear Santa, which is a movie you do not want to watch, I promise you dearly, but we're gonna get into why right now. So it starts off with this kid. I don't know his name, I just know he's overweight. Nobody likes him, he's not popular, he's kind of annoying. He annoys his parents. He has like one friend. He's like this kid. That kid from The Simpsons. So his parents really don't like each other. They argue all the time because, you know, they have stress from the passing of his brother. I think he got hit by a car. So the movie writer does tug on your heartstrings like that. So this kid, you know, with his arguing parents, his life's in shambles, writes a letter to Santa, but he's dyslexic. I can't even talk. He's dyslexic. So instead of writing Santa, he spells Satan on the letter. And basically he's trying to tell his parents that he wrote a letter, and they're like, you're too old to be believing in Santa Claus. What's wrong with you? You need therapy. So the next day we meet his one friend, this black kid who kind of looks like one of those kids from Fat Albert. Can't remember his name, but he has buck teeth. And of course his sensible black friend is like, dude, you're too old to be believing in Santa. I can't kick it with you like that if you're talking about Santa. So we get to school with the kid, and then we realize that he has a crush, but his friend's like, dog, you don't got juice like that, don't go talk to her, you're gonna get rejected. But he don't care because he's a shooter.
Decide not to use it. Curry, way downtown, bang!
But he ain't Steph Curry, so it doesn't work because she already has a boyfriend. He looks like he's in a boy band. He has cool hair, he has cool clothes. Yeah, see, told you it wasn't gonna work. So we go to the classroom where he's bullied also by his teacher, who's that guy from The Boys.
Honey?
I just love that scene. But anyways, back to the movie. So the teacher's kind of a prick, as you can see. However, the girl he has a crush on stands up for him when some kids are making fun of him. So after school, he meets at the spot with his homeboy, and he's like, hey, look, I might have a chance with her. She kind of stood up for me in class. And of course, sensible black friend is like, dude, you have no chance. She was just being nice. But optimistic white kid is undeterred, and he's like, F you, dude, I'm going to go mail my letter to Santa Claus. And whoever made his teeth like this, like, that's egregious. You didn't have to make his teeth that big. So optimistic white kid finally gets to the mailbox and mail his letter to Santa, but optimistic white kid is dyslexic, so he spells Satan instead of Santa. And now the premise of the movie can finally take off, because thank God the first 15 minutes were so boring. Back at home, optimistic white kid's getting a little sad because his parents still hate each other. They're still arguing.
I will.
But it's never enough, is it?
Now you need to do something.
You hear me? Do something.
And probably the worst thing ever is going to happen, which is like the devil showing up in your room. And that's exactly what happens. Jack Black / the devil, Satan, shows up, freaks the kid out, but then ends up convincing the kid that he's not the devil. He convinces him that he's Santa Claus. So the poor kid has no idea who he's talking to, which kind of makes me think this kid is just real stupid.
You stupid.
They're not.
What's 9 plus 10?
21.
Poor unsuspecting townsville, all snug in your beds. Unaware.
Yeah, can't believe I watched that as a kid. That was Powerpuff Girls. But back to the movie where Jack Black / Santa / Satan is trying to convince optimistic stupid white kid that he's not the devil, and it's actually working. So he convinces the kid to make his first of 3 wishes that he's trying to make in order to steal his soul. So kid wakes his mom up. He's like, Mom, guess what? The devil came to my room. I made some wishes. She's like, oh my God, honey, you're just tripping. Go back to bed. I don't have any kids, but if I ever have them and they're like, hey, the devil was in my room, yeah, we moving out that night, okay? Ain't no go back to sleep. It's pack your bags. We're leaving. The next day, the devil / Jack Black / Satan / Santa follows optimistic white kid to school. And he's like, hey, ask out your crush. I'm going to stick this killer rat on you. So he goes and he's like, hey, you want to go out, get some ice cream? And she's like, yeah, for sure. Like, devil magic is totally making me like you. So he's feeling good, but sensible black friend is like, bruh, this letter is addressed to Satan, not Santa. You bugging, my boy, and I'm definitely not kicking it with you no more. And definitely don't go talk to that raggedy looking man on that bench over there. Don't do that. And of course, like any sensible black friend, he leaves because we don't play about demons, demonic stuff. Yeah, Ouija boards, we're not doing none of that. But optimistic white kid is hunted down by Satan. He does try to run away, so I give him credit for that. But Jack Black / Satan is like, nah, dude, you got to make a couple more wishes. So that's basically what he's trying to make him do for like the rest of the movie, is get him to make wishes so he can take his soul. And at this point, we see Jack Black / Satan / Santa showing optimistic white kid, look at all the things I could do. And we get our typical cliche Faustian montage where the devil's like, look at all the cool stuff I can do for you. Don't you want to sell your soul to me and burn in hell forever? Thankfully, the kid has a good heart and he's like, no, devil, you can't take my soul. Shout out to you. Hey, the kid got some Jesus in him. And here's one of the funniest parts of the movie where Jack Black / Satan makes that prick of a teacher have to go use the bathroom. But of course, it's a Jack Black movie, so you had to have a poop joke. It's a Farrelly Brothers movie. You gotta have crude puke humor. But yeah, so he goes home, and of course, optimistic white family is like, hey, we don't want you to be weird, so we got you a therapist, and we got you a black one, so that way we have some diversity. So Key and Peele is being a therapist for optimistic white kid. He's like, I'm not crazy, because the devil's actually helping me. Leave me alone. And his parents are like, no, come back, because you keep saying you're seeing Santa and the devil, so you got to talk to the black therapist. But if you grew up in church, you know the only way to get rid of that demon, that devil, is some Jesus. So he don't need a therapist. He needs some Jesus.
Oh! Somebody! Oh! He needs some milk!
But sensible black friend who is pretending to have cancer, which is kind of whack. I hate when they do that in movies, you know, because you never know who's watching it. But he comes to the house and is like, hey, can optimistic white kid take me to the concert? And then the devil / Jack Black shows up and he's like, yeah, cancer is black kid's dad. And of course the parents are like, oh, really? Okay, well, sure, you can take our son and his friend away from us without our supervision. Yeah, that sounds great. Take him to a Post Malone concert, where the devil gave optimistic white kid these tickets so he can show off for his crush and hopefully win her over using devil magic.
He thought it was a sick ass idea to put the ashes of a lady who died while she was possessed on top.
What?
I was in a car accident. My house got robbed and I had bite marks on my arm.
So yeah, Post Malone just casually admitting to being attacked by a demonic spirit. One of his friends said he should play with a box that was possessed by the spirit of a possessed lady. Gotta get better friends, Post Malone. That might be why he acts like this. Weird. Anyways, optimistic white kid dances on stage with devil-possessed Post Malone, does these wag dance moves, ends up impressing his crush, but he ends up making bucktooth black kid really sad because he ain't got no swag like optimistic white kid. So optimistic white kid, being a good-hearted person, has to hook up his homeboy. So School of Rock / Satan / Jack Black returns and is like, hey, kid, in this kid Christmas movie, make a wish so I can steal your soul. That's crazy. Someone thought this was a movie to put out for kids on Christmas. But anyways, optimistic white kid is feeling down about Bucktooth black friend not having no swag, so he decides to do him a favor using devil magic. And like a real homie, he fixes his teeth. Look at the glow up. My boy went from Urkel to Stefan. He feeling himself.
Steve who?
Now, at this point of the movie, optimistic white kid goes on his date with his crush, but he ends up getting kidnapped by his parents. They go home, make him do therapy, blah, blah, blah. It's really boring. And then Jack Black / Satan shows up and makes him think that his friend is trying to hit on his crush and makes it all confused. So then optimistic white kid starts being a little prick like his teacher and ends up losing his girlfriend.
I thought you loved me. Lose my baby. My fucking cinnamon apple.
Cold world. So he loses his shorty, but she does break up with him because he was being a little prick, and she liked him initially because he was actually a cool, kind of nice guy, a kind dude. So she's like, your whole personality switched up, maybe because you've been hanging out with Jack Black / Satan / Santa / the devil. But we do get one of the funniest parts of the movie right here, where optimistic white kid confronts the cool kid and gets punched in the face. And that probably was the last interesting scene in the movie, besides this one where we find out that Jack Black / Satan / Santa is actually just a regular demon and that he answers to Lucifer. So he got the letter, pretended to be the Satan, and actually is just a peon who's trying to get his demon horns. So I guess that was the twist of the movie. And Ben Stiller plays Lucifer, and they're in hell. And as you can see, this is a great movie for kids because I don't think that they'll have nightmares about the devil or anything creepy popping up in their room. Like, I definitely don't think that will happen. I honestly turned the movie off at this point. It was so boring. I couldn't take it. But I watched it just to do this review, and I finished it the next day. And at the end of the movie, the kid, the devil can't take the kid's soul because he's so nice. So Jack Black / the devil ends up telling him he granted the wish that he wrote in his letter, which was for his brother who died in a car accident to come back and spend Christmas with them. Once again, dear Santa, you will dearly regret watching it if you do, because you will be bored out of your mind. Now, let's talk about the writing. Breaking down the writing, the plot was not terrible. I will not give the plot a bad grade because there was promise with the plot. However, I just think the premise, the Faustian bargain with a kid, is just not something that parents want to see, especially in a holiday movie, especially when you're seeing the devil so much and hearing the kids talk about the devil so much. You know, that's something that will turn off a lot of people. The plot of a kid being, or someone being dyslexic and writing a letter to Satan instead of Santa was interesting. Maybe if it was an adult dyslexic, it would have been a bit more easier to swallow, but with it being a kid, it just was not how it was supposed to be, involving a kid with the devil, especially with Hollywood being weird, and especially with it being Jack Black, who just played such a good devil. However, the characters, most of them were tropes. You had the disgruntled parents, you had the like I said, sensible black friend, the optimistic white kid who was like the Kevin McCauley character in Home Alone. So, no one really stood out. Jack Black carried the movie, but once again, he was playing the devil, so it's not like you could root for seeing him too much on screen. So I can't give the characters any love. Dialogue wasn't the worst. Jack Black had some funny lines, but overall, the dialogue didn't stand out. There really was nothing good about this movie. It's not terrible. It's not good. It's just right in the middle. But if it was done with an adult, it probably could have been executed at the R-rated level it needed to be, instead of trying to dumb it down and make it kid friendly. Because a lot of the stuff Jack Black was saying, and a lot, like for instance, the kid having cancer, you don't want to put that in a kid's movie. I think if they would have shot for an R rating and did an adult who couldn't spell, it would have been a lot funnier. For instance, like Dumb and Dumber, when Lloyd couldn't spell and he couldn't read the newspaper clip. That was a funny scene. You could have played something like that. But doing it with the kid just didn't work. So I got to give the writing of Dear Santa, which I dearly regretted watching,